Alright, shalom to the Israelite community. This Israel been Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, I have a sister with me, Sister NearYAH, and she's going to be asking a few questions about, our history, and I'm going to see if I can explain it appropriately and to where you Israelites can understand too. Alright, shalom. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Sister NearYAH, Israel, and I'm just here to just kind of get a better understanding of our history as far as the Tanakh goes.
Alright, sister, you was reading the book of Ezekiel, and what do you think about it, and what did you discover, and.
So I was reading the book of Ezekiel, and I was looking at how what stood out to me is how Almighty Yah had come to Ezekiel in a vision, and how he had Ezekiel warn the other Israelites about straighten up and acting right, or else y'all was gonna go through punishment. And then it came through my mind that okay, I read the book of Jeremiah a while back, and it seemed like the book of Ezekiel should have come before the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah, they was running and trying to get away, but Ezekiel he was warning them. So it seemed like that should have came first.
Alright, actually, the book of Ezekiel is supposed to be before the book of Jeremiah. The book of Ezekiel is 593 BCE to 573 BCE, and it was the first time that the Babylonians had came into the land. We had been on Egyptian religion for a long time since Jeroboam brung the Egyptian religion out in 931 BCE. And if you read, about Jeroboam, I think that's 1 Kings 11 or somewhere up in there. And that how, when he went to Egypt, that, he come out with the Egyptian religion, the golden calf, and put it on the northern kingdom. The golden calf is Isis Horus. It's basically what Christianity is founded, from the mother and child worship, Isis Horus, and that, our ancestors had been on it for a long time. Well, it was a prophecy for a king to come about, King Josiah by name, and how he would clean up the land. And I think it was like 200, maybe 300 years later, King Josiah was born, and he actually did what the prophecy, calls for him meant to do. I'm gonna see if I can find it, and then I might have you to read some of it. But
Okay.
but King Josiah cleaned up the Egyptian religion, and that caused the Egyptians men to come out, and it's this Egyptian by the name of NearYAH. Do you remember when we went up to New York and we seen that statue? We was looking for NearYAH in that obelisk that was in Central Park. Well, that's a statue of NearYAH, and NearYAH caused King Josiah meant to be killed. And that's after he cleaned up the Egyptian religion and all the religions in the land as prophecy called for. And then we wouldn't get off the Egyptian religion, and then the Egyptians put us back on the Egyptian religion after King Josiah cleaned it up. So if this is a prophecy, King, and that we didn't do right and had the chance to do right, that Almighty Yah had another plan for us. And then that's when the Babylonians come in, and then that'd be the book of Ezekiel, their first time.
Okay.
And I think Ezekiel was a priest, and how he was told to do certain things, to kind of like, wake us up. All right, let's see if I can find. All right, you'll go to you'll go to 1 King 13. First Kings
chapter
13.
13.
Yeah, and this is after Jeroboam. You know, actually, 1 King 12 give you the history of Jeroboam, or when the kingdom split. You know, the 10 tribes
Yeah.
decided not to do or follow King David's descendants, who was mostly pure Yah worshipers, and they, you know, from the tribe of Judah, and then how the northern kingdom separated themselves from David's descendants' rule, and formed their own little thing, and then Jeroboam, whom Solomon chased into Egypt, you know, after Solomon died, then he come out and the people chose him to be the leader, but he had a different plan. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a scripture there that say that Judah shall not envy Ephraim, and Ephraim should not envy Judah. That's basically kind of like when it got its started, how we started to fight against each other, and how Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim, and the Egyptians were kindred to him because Joseph, his forefather, had married an Egyptian and had 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. So Ephraim went to his relatives in Egypt, and then they put the Egyptian religion on him, and then he come out and put it on the northern kingdom after we split, and then that destroyed.
The northern kingdom was Israel.
Yes, Israel.
And the southern kingdom
was Judah. Right, right. So what you're gonna read? Some 13 or 12 kind of give you a little insight on Jeroboam. That's 1 Kings 12 give you a little insight on Jeroboam and what he did and how he constructed the.
Where you want me to start?
Man, I guess you could start 12 so we can get a little understanding,
Okay.
about Jeroboam.
This is 1 Kings chapter 12.
All right, yes. Rehoboam was Solomon's son, and the people didn't want to follow him. Okay. All right.
Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel had come to Shechem to acclaim him as king. Jeroboam, son of Nebat, learned of it while he was still in Egypt, for Jeroboam had fled from King Solomon and had settled in Egypt. After they sent for him, and Jeroboam and all the assembly of Israel came and spoke to Rehoboam as follows: Your father made our yoke heavy. Now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke which your father laid on us, and we will serve you. He answered them, Go away for 3 days and come back to me. So the people went away. King Rehoboam took counsel with the elders who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime. He said, What answer do you advise me to give to this people? They answered him, If you will be a servant to those people today and serve them, and if you respond to them with kind words, they will be your servants always. But he ignored the advice that the elders gave him, and he took counsel with the young men who had grown up with him and were serving him. What he asked, do you advise that we reply to the people who said to me, Lighten the yoke that your father placed upon us? And the young men who had grown up with him answered, Speak thus to the people who said to you, Your father made your yoke heavy, now you make it lighter for us. Say to them, My little finger is thicker than my father's loins. My father imposed a heavy yoke on you, and I will add to your yoke. My father flogged you with whips, but I will flog you with scorpions. Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam on the third day, since the king had told them, "Come back on the third day." The king answered the people harshly, ignoring the advice that the elders had given him. He spoke to them in accordance to the advice of the young men, and he said, "My father made your yoke heavy, but I will add to your yoke. My father flogged you with whips, but I will flog you with scorpions." The king did not listen to the people, for the Elohim had brought it about in order to fulfill the promise that the Elohim had made through Ahiah the Shilonite to Jeroboam son of Nebat. When all Israel saw that the king had not listened to them, the people answered the king, "We have no portion in David, no share in Jesse's son. To your tents, O Israel. Now look to your own house, O David."
All right, excuse me. We was a unified kingdom and people up to this point right here, and this is what the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, the tribe of Judah, was separated from the tribes of Israel. You know, we was the same people, but it was, you know, we was separating basically by beliefs too, because the northern kingdom was mostly on the Egyptian religion that you will see that Jeroboam had brought out.
So the Egyptian religion was brought to Israel through
Jeroboam. We had been
through
on
Manasseh?
no through Ephraim.
Oh, Ephraim.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Now look to your own house, O David. So the Israelites returned to their homes, but Rehoboam continued to reign over the Israelites who lived in the towns of Judah.
See, it was always Israelites living in the southern kingdom too, because we moved around, but you was mostly confined to your forefathers' land that was given to them.
Yeah. King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was in charge of the forced labor, but all Israel pelted him to death with stones. Thereupon King Rehoboam hurriedly mounted his chariot and fled to Jerusalem. Thus Israel revolted against the house of David, as is still the case. When all Israel heard that Jeroboam had returned, they sent messengers and summoned him to the assembly and made him king over all Israel. Only the tribe of Judah remained loyal to the house of David. On his return to Jerusalem, Rehoboam mustered all the house of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 picked warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, in order to restore the kingship to Rehoboam, son of Solomon. But the word of Yah came to Shemaiah, the man of Yah, say to King Rehoboam, son of Solomon of Judah, and to all the house of Judah and Benjamin and the rest of the people, thus saith the Elohim, you shall not set out to make war on your kinsmen, the Israelites. Let every man return to his home, for this thing has been brought about by me. They heeded the word of the Elohim and turned back in accordance with the word of the Elohim. Jeroboam fortified Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim and resided there. He moved out from there and fortified Penuel. Jeroboam said to himself, now the kingdom may well turn to the house of David. If these people still go up to offer sacrifices to the house of the Elohim in Jerusalem, the heart of these people will turn back to their master, King Rehoboam of Judah. they will kill me and go back to King Jeroboam of Judah. So the king took counsel and made 2 golden calves. He said to the people, "You have been going up to Jerusalem long enough. This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt. Set up one in Bethel and place the other in Dan." That proved to be a cause of guilt, for the people went to worship the calf at Bethel and the one at Dan.
And you see, now we got direct Egyptian religions
Yeah.
on us right there. So, you know, Almighty Yah had told us in Deuteronomy that we should not be fooling with the Egyptians or do any ways of the Egyptians. Now, here this Israelite go putting the Egyptian worship on us. And that will cause our downfall. And then, so when we finish reading this, I'm going to show you the prophecy about King Josiah was prophesied to be born, and then we'll probably read some of his history, and then that's when the Egyptians come out trying to cross the land after King Josiah and then cleaned it up of that Egyptian religion that Jeroboam put on us, and then that's when the book of Ezekiel come about.
Okay. Let's see. Where did I stop at?
Man, I think he was on 30.
30. Okay, this is still 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 30. That proved to be a cause of guilt, for the people went to worship the calf at Bethel and the one at Dan. He also made cult places and appointed priests from the ranks of the people who were not of Levite descent.
Right. So he taking folks off the street, anybody that he can, and just putting them in his false priesthood that he just created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so evil.
Man, well, that eventually caused us to be in the conditions that we in now. That act that he did, you know, would eventually...
That act alone is enough to bring Almighty Yah wrath on you.
Right.
Okay. On the 15th day of the 8th month, the month in which he had contrived of his own mind to establish a festival for Israelites, Jeroboam ascended the altar that he had made in Bethel. Chapter 13. As he is...
All right, let me read.
Okay.
Are you sitting on 13?
Yeah.
And behold, there came a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar of the word of the Elohim, and said, O altar, altar, this saith the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense, and upon thee. So that was a prophecy for King Josiah to be born in about 275 years or something like that. He was born, and he did just that. Go to Second Chronicles 34.
Second Chronicles.
Man, I think he was 8 years old when he come on the throne.
Yeah, I remember that he was a kid. He was a little
Right.
kid. And I think his mama and them helped him until he got of age or something like that.
Now the priests and so forth hid him, and then he ascended in the throne. You know, because you know there was all kind of stuff going on in the kingdom where sometime when they killed men, the leader, they'll try to wipe out all the sons so it wouldn't be no heir to the throne and so forth.
You
all
said
right.
Second Chronicles what?
34.
34.
So this right here would lead up to the book of Ezekiel after King Josiah cleaned up the Egyptian religion from prophecy. You know that
I hope
prophecy.
one day you can like just write down like what order you should read it in.
I,
Like,
man, I got a timeline.
oh yeah, a
Yes,
timeline.
yes, yes. I got a timeline. It's already on the Israelite Brotherhood site on YouTube.
Okay.
All right, come on, you can read this.
Oh, read this one. 34.
Yes, Second Chronicles
Second
34.
Chronicles 34. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem.
All right, excuse me. Now, but we got to remember that the Egyptian religion was on us all the way up, meant to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And he's fulfilling prophecy right here. What you finna read?
Okay. He did what was pleasing to the Elohim, following the ways of his father David without deviating to the right or to the left. In the 8th year of his reign, while he was still young, he began to seek the Yah of his fathers, David, and in the 12th year he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem of the shrines, the sacred posts, the idols, and the molten images. At his bidding, they demolished the altars of the Baals, and he had the incense stands above them cut down. He smashed the sacred pots, the idols, and the images, ground them to dust, and stewed it onto the graves of those who had sacrificed to them. He burnt the bones of the priests on their altars and purged Judah and Jerusalem. In the towns of Manasseh and Ephraim and Simon, as far as Naphtali.
All right. Check this out. All right, this history right here, dealing with King Josiah, also dispelled the 10 lost tribes. You know, they say during 722 BCE that the Assyrians came and took 10 tribes away, and was nobody left in the land, and a whole lot of Israelites believe that, not understanding dates and timeline. You know, here King Josiah is dealing with the Israelites as same as his great grandfather King Hezekiah, who was dealing with all the tribes 7 years after the so-called Assyrians took 10 tribes away. So, you know, it wouldn't make no sense for King Josiah to go even mention these Israelites tribe names if they was gone during the Syrian times.
Right. Let's see. He burned the bones of the priests on their altars and purged Judah and Jerusalem. In the towns of Manasseh and Ephraim and Simon, as far as Naphtali, lying in ruins on every side. He demolished the altars and the sacred pots and smashed the idols and ground them to dust. He hewed down all the incense stands throughout the land of Israel. Then he returned to Jerusalem. In the 18th year of his reign, after purging the land and the house, he commissioned Shaphan, son of Azaliah, Messiah, the governor of the city, and Joel, son of Joahaz, the recorder, to repair the house of the Elohim, his Yah.
All right, excuse me one second. All right, now they gonna find the book. Now just imagine he doing this without the prophecies in the law being, you know, found, and show you that Almighty Yah is real, because he was a prophecy king from way back in Jeroboam days. And it's like 270 something years later, and he's fulfilling prophecy, just like Yah said would happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Trying to find out where I stopped it. They came to the high priest Hilkiah and delivered to him.
That's Jeremiah's father.
Oh, okay.
And Jeremiah was around during this time.
Oh, okay. They came to the high priest Hilkiah and delivered to him the silver brought to the house of Yah, which the Levites, the guards of the threshold, had collected from Manasseh and Ephraim, and from all the remnant of Israel, and from all Judah and Benjamin, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They delivered it into the custody of the overseers who were in charge at the house of the Elohim, and the overseers who worked in the house of the Elohim spent it on examining and repairing the house. They paid it out to the artisans and the masons to buy quarried stone and wood for the couplings, for the making of roof beams, for the buildings that the kings of Judah had allowed to fall into ruin. The men had the work honestly.
Right. That's the men, the ones that let it fall into ruin. Is gonna be his father Manasseh, and that was.
So I'm sorry. So this was the temple.
This was the temple. Yeah.
This was the original temple where they had worshipped Almighty Yah.
Right.
That they let fall into ruin.
Right. Because some of the kings, man, before him, his father Amon and Manasseh, his great granddaddy, was following the false religion that was in the land that we never destroyed. The Baal worship, the Babylonian worship, the Egyptian worship. They was doing everything, and they neglected the temple and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The men did the work honestly. Honestly, over them were appointed the Levites, Johath and Obadiah, the sons of Merari, and Zechariah and Meshullam, of the sons of Kohath, to supervise, while other Levites, all the master musicians, were over the porters, supervising all who worked at each and every task. Some of the Levites were scribes and officials and gatekeepers. Can I go off subject?
No, let's. Oh, yes.
When they talk about the scribes and the gatekeepers, the scribes the ones who kept our history
That
for
they kept
us.
writing.
Yeah.
They kept writing everything that was going on in the land. They was writing it down like news reporters. They was like the news reporters.
Yeah.
Whenever event, that's why all the stories and history in the Tanakh is preserved, is because we had
Right.
scribes that did writing. Everything that happened, everything that was important that went on in the land, they wrote it down.
Yeah.
Right.
As they took out the silver that had been brought to the house of the Elohim, the priest Hilkiah found a scroll of the Elohim's
And that's
teaching.
Jeremiah's father right there.
Okay, Jeremiah's father. He found a scroll of the Elohim's teaching given by Moses. Hilkiah spoke up and said to the scribe Shaphan, I have found a scroll of the teaching of the house of the Elohim. And Hilkiah gave the scroll to Shaphan. Shaphan brought the scroll to the king and also reported to the king, all that was entrusted to your servants is being done. They have melted down the silver that was found in the house of the Elohim and delivered it to those who were in charge, to the overseers. The scribe Shaphan also told the king, the priest Hilkiah has given me a scroll, and Shaphan read from it to the king. When the king heard the words of the teaching, he tore his clothes. The king gave orders to Hilkiah and Ahikam, son of Shaphan, and Abdon, son of Micah, and the scribe Shaphan and Isaiah, the king's minister, saying, "Go inquire of the Elohim on my behalf and on behalf of those who remain in Israel and Judah concerning the words of the scroll that has been found. For great indeed must be the wrath of the Elohim that has been poured down upon us, because our fathers did not obey the word of the Elohim and do all that is written in the scroll." Hilkiah and those whom the king had ordered went to the
The
prophetess
prophetess
Huldah.
Huldah, and that she was a prophetess, and she gonna tell him that, hey, it's basically over, because you know that Egyptian religion and so forth, and that Amorite religion, and basically the things that we are doing now is what we was doing in the land then during that time.
Hilkiah and those whom the king had ordered went to the prophetess Huldah, wife of Shallum, son of Tokahath, son of Hazra, keeper of the wardrobe, who was living in Jerusalem. She was living in Jerusalem in the Mishnah, and spoke to her accordingly. She responded to them, "Thus said the Elohim, Yah of Israel, say to the men who sent you to me, thus said the Elohim, I am going to bring disaster upon this place and its inhabitants. All the curses that were written in the scroll that was read to the king of Judah, because they forsook me and made offerings to other gods in order to vex me with all the works of their hands. My wrath shall be poured out against this place and not be quenched. But say this to the king of Judah, who sent you to inquire of the Elohim. Thus said the Elohim, Yah of Israel, as for the words which you have heard, since your heart was softened and you humbled yourself before Yah, when you heard his words concerning his place and its inhabitants, and you humbled yourself before me and tore your clothes and wept for me, I, for my part, have listened, declares the Elohim. Assuredly, I will gather you to your fathers, and you will be laid in your grave in peace. Your eyes shall see nothing of this disaster that I will bring upon this place and its inhabitants.
All right. The Egyptians come out, and because of that prophecy, they killed King Josiah was killed in his chariot when the Egyptians tried to come across the land. What was happening was that Ashkenazi, under the name Scythian, they controlled the Chaldean army. They had destroyed Assyria. The northern kingdom tribes, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, was with the Assyrians, and they was, fighting against, Babylon, trying to preserve the Assyrian Empire. Well, they was destroyed because those tribes did Egyptian religion, and then the Babylonians came to our land and defeated us, and King Josiah was killed during that process, and we went back to Egyptian religion. The King Necho, who we went up to New York to see that statue, put Jehoiakim, King Josiah's son, on the throne, and then they would institute the Egyptian religion, and then that'd be the book of Ezekiel and the history in the book of Jeremiah. In the book of Jeremiah, it was over with for us, and we was chased off the land.
So King Josiah was killed. Is that part of the prophecy that the prophetess Huldah gave?
No, that was because when the Egyptians come across the land, he come out meant to stop them. and you know he was killed, and they was wounded, and then when the Egyptians killed him, they put us on the Egyptian religion, and then that's when that'd be the book of Ezekiel when when the Babylonians come through the first time.
I had asked that because the prophetess Huldah told them, she said, surely I will gather you to your fathers, and you will be laid in your grave in peace, and your eyes shall see nothing of this disaster.
Well,
that's why I was wondering.
He didn't see the disaster of us getting taken to Babylon and chased off the land because the Egyptians killed him.
Who she was talking to?
She was talking to King Josiah. But, that prophecy didn't come to pass because King Josiah, the Egyptian gonna say that, NearYAH gonna say that Almighty Yah sent him out, and don't interfere. Don't interfere with what he's trying to do. But you got to understand, man, I made a video, what was King Josiah's thinking?
Yeah.
That he done cleaned up the Egyptian religion and all them false religions. It was a prophecy from Jeroboam times. Now, here come the Egyptians. I believe the Egyptians used that as an excuse, being slick, and that they used that as a way to get King Josiah. Because, NearYAH gonna say, hey, don't interfere with what I'm doing. God told me to come through here and get out the way. But King Josiah disguised himself and was fighting against them, and then they killed him. And then, the Egyptian King NearYAH would put us on Egyptian religion. You see, the Egyptians was real slick. That's like when the Egyptians knew that we was Israelites and that it was a promise for us to be in Canaan, and that would be our land, and that they gave Joseph Aneseth, the priest of On's daughter, knowing that after he had some kids by her, that it'll be an entanglement.
Yeah.
See, the Egyptians trying to destroy us in every which way that they can to keep us out of our heritage and throwed off. See, them giving Joseph Aseneth, and then Joseph fathering Manasseh and Ephraim. The Egyptians had to do trade on the other side of the promised land, and that long as we did Yah worship, man, it'd be hard for them, man, to come across as King Josiah stood up after he cleaned the Egyptian religion up.
Yeah.
All right, so look, let's go to the book of Ezekiel, and then like I say, that was written in 595 to 573 BCE, and then you get the history of Jeremiah after that. Ezekiel gonna be the first time that the Babylonians come through, trying to make a way, man, into Egypt. They had installed the Mishwish tribes, the Assyrians, when they came through in, I think it was 697 BCE, and they put NearYAH and them lying on the throne, and then the Babylonians would come through. Everybody was coming across the promised land long as we wasn't doing the covenant, men, and so forth. All right, hey, Sister NearYAH, man, that was some good reading, man.
I enjoyed it.
And I think we're gonna continue this study, and shalom to the Israelite community. Man, I hope this information was useful to you.